Tell me about Shadur. You've known him a little bit longer. You said 6 years. So we're talking, you get him in high school. You obviously, you know who his dad is. You know the lineage and all that stuff. What do you remember about the very first time you met Shadur Sanders?
So very first time I met him was he was actually in middle school and I was at SMU. So his oldest brother, who does all the video stuff, Dion Jr., me and him went to SMU together. He's like 2 years older than me. So when I came in, me and him created a good relationship together. And so Shedeur, even back then, Shedeur used to always want to just come work out. So he used to come work out. Of course, his brother played receiver at the time, so he would come to SMU and throw with him. And so when I got there, me and him created a relationship. He would come out and come throw with me when I was out there throwing, or come work out with me. And then when I got back to his mom lived in Houston, so on different, Christmas break, summer breaks, I'm from Houston, so I would come back home to Houston, and he would call me and be like, "Hey man, come pick me up from my mom's house. I want to come work out with you." So we had created a bond from there. And then once I got done playing ball and got into training, and I told him, he was like, "Shoot, I'm training with you. I want to train with you." We had a great relationship. Of course, the stuff that we were doing, it was when I was working out with him, was a lot of the same stuff we were going to be doing. A lot of the same stuff we were going to be doing in training. So, man, he was comfortable with it. So we kind of got from there. He drove down to Houston one of the first times before the season, and we started working, and then we just built it up from there.
You've seen and read, I'm sure, all the stuff about the questions in terms of Shadur and how he's going to fit. He is hyper confident. There's no doubt about it. You talk to him for 2 minutes, you can see that. For some people, that borders into cockiness. They wonder, how's that going to play if you're a 22-year-old kid walking into a locker room full of 30-year-old men who have been doing this for a long time. For people who have those questions about how Shadur is going to fit into an NFL culture, what would you tell them?
Man, I think for a quarterback, you want a guy like that. You want a guy who's sure in what he can do. You want a guy who's confident in himself. You want a guy who's never second guessing himself. If he's going out there to play, and you know that, okay, cool, he's not worried, so we're not worried. And that's who Shadur is. Literally, he's played four years of football with 6 different offensive coordinators, and been successful. Has the highest completion percentage in NCAA history. So man, just who he is, he understands the system. He's not a guy who, I feel like he's a guy who can fit in any system, whatever type of system that a team is running. But I think the biggest thing is just his confidence in himself sets everything apart. It's not any game that he's played that he doesn't feel like he's out of, because he understands the game. He's seen so much football, so he understands it, and he's comfortable back there, man. So I think just the type of guy he is and that confidence, yeah, it can offend some people, but it's who he is, and that's what makes him special. So I think a lot of guys, and you see it on social media and all that stuff, but I think the guys in the locker room, like, he's been in 2 different locker rooms, all the changes that they've made, and they haven't had any problems in the locker room yet. Now, of course, that's college and not the NFL, but I think it's going to carry over to the NFL as well. He'll be able to relate to each guy in the locker room from all different walks of life, but that's just who he is. He's a confidence guy, and when he gets out there, he's going to be very confident. I feel like if their quarterback's confident, especially coming in as a rookie, then everybody else around him will be confident.
Knowing that he's Dion's son, if you had never seen him play, I would think most people would assume he's like his dad, right? He's flash and he's running all over the place. He's played more like Cam, frankly. But Shadur, he's at his core, he's a pocket passer. He's accurate within the pocket. He doesn't have elite athletic ability, let's call it that. He's not going to be making a ton of things happen with his legs. Who is the comp in your mind, and how does he end up playing stylistically in the NFL?
Joe Burrow. I think Joe Burrow is a great fit. I had one of the guys from Colorado actually brought that up last year when I was trying to kind of figure out who kind of fit who Shadur was, and I think that was a great fit. Just the way Joe Burrow is always confident, always calm. Like, Shadur is always this. He's one of the guys who's literally always that. He never gets too high, never gets too low. Joe does a great job of being accurate and understanding the system. And then what I think the comparison really works is, what was that, the year that Joe and them went to the Super Bowl? He was sacked a lot. I think he was the most sacked quarterback in the NFL and was still productive. That's who Shadur was, last year, being sacked over 50-something times and still being productive, still at the top of all the quarterback statistics, and different things like that. So, how accurate Joe is, same thing with Shadur. Very sneaky athletic, same thing with Shadur. So I think that's a great fit for him.
Those sacks can add up, though, too. I mean, Burrow has gotten beat up, and he tore his ACL at one point. For Shadur, are there things in your mind that he still needs to improve, whether it's the processing ability, whether it is just, learning coverages? Like, what are some things, not that it's all on him taking sacks, but what are some things that he still can get better at as he moves forward here?
Man, I think from the learning coverages standpoint, man, I think he's one of the guys who understands coverages at a great level. And I think that just goes from, who his dad is. He's been learning coverages for a long time, and he's been around some guys who have taught him a lot. So he understands it. He understands the game from a whole different lens that a lot of people don't get to understand it from. But a lot of things he needs to work on. Of course, it gets to a point where, you've been sacked so many times and different things like that. You want to be able to, get the ball out a little quicker and different things like that. There's a lot of things that he understands that going into the next level, going into the NFL, that he'll have to change, that he'll have to get better at. And he's working on that. Those are things that, of course, working on the pro day stuff, but those are things that he wants to work on, a lot more rhythm stuff, a lot of different things that, he understands that I have to be better at the next level to be successful.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show live weekdays from 12 to 3 p.m. Eastern on Roku Sports Channel in the U.S.